Hello, this is Katie Willie. I am a kindergarten teacher, and I have 24 students currently. Out of those 24 students, I have 7 students that are English language learners. 1 speaks Portuguese at home, and the other 6 speak Spanish at home. I also, out of my 24 students, have 3 that are in resource for both math and reading. And those 3 are also in speech. And then I have another student that's also in speech as well. Out of those 4 speech students, 2 of them are very hard to understand and have many pronunciation errors. One of the big things in kindergarten that we are dealing with is a lot of phonological awareness, learning the letters, learning where the sounds are in your mouth, learning how to put those sounds together to make words. We have also a period of time during the day where we learn vocabulary. Actually, there's 2 different parts. There's one during our whole group for reading street time, where we learn amazing words, we answer a question of the week, and we use those words in sentences. Also, after lunch, they have an English language development time for 30 minutes. Because all of our students are still learning English, the district is having the full-day kindergarten classrooms that have a high population of ELL students in the school do an extra time where we teach English. During this time, they learn more vocabulary, they color pictures with that vocabulary in it, they circle pictures, they're reading sentences, they're just getting more experience with that vocabulary and with sounds that we're learning. So like this week we're learning M. And so they would be coloring pictures that have words that start with the sound. So those are all the areas for our students, especially learning English. The first example that I'm going to show is one of my ELL students who says the word 3. Now, I've heard 3 pronounced multiple ways. I've heard it pronounced tree, I've heard it pronounced free, and this one I found interesting because he is Spanish speaking, and he trills the R in 3. I cannot trill it, so I'm not going to try to pronounce it the way he does. He does it very beautifully, though. But he does the trilled R, which is an alveolar trill, instead of our voiced central alveolar approximant. So instead of going he trills the R in the word 3. And I'm going to keep listening to see if he trills the R in other words that have an R, or if it's just the word 3 and maybe he was just messing around that day. But for the most part, I've normally just heard him saying 3 with a trilled R. The next example that I have is from one of my students, and he says shat instead of cat. And a lot of the examples that I have heard my students saying, the tongue's been in the right spot of the mouth, but something else is wrong with the pronunciation. Where in this case, the tongue is in the completely wrong place. So he says the sh in the beginning of cat. So he's using a voiceless post-alveolar fricative instead of the voiceless velar stop. So his tongue is in the front of his mouth going shh and letting the air flow through to make it the fricative instead of making it stop in the back of his mouth for the k sound. And we are continuing to work with him and to get the tongue to move back so that way he can say the k sound in all of his words, because he cannot say the k sound. The last example that I have is of a student who says t-shirt instead of teacher. And this one's interesting because it is in the correct spot of the mouth, but he's using a fricative, so a voiceless post-alveolar fricative, instead of a voiceless post-alveolar affricate. And the affricate is where you use the 2 different sounds, so the t and the sh together to make ch. So he is actually missing the voiceless stop t when he's saying teacher. So he's not tapping the top of his mouth again and creating that stop. He's just using the sh sound instead. And as of right now, I have not corrected any of these errors. Kindergarten is a big time where we are working on just learning our sounds and our letters and pronouncing words. So for the most part, a lot of these errors, with help, hopefully, over time, if I need to correct them, I will. But for now, I will see if they correct themselves as we go along.